Welcome to the J Squared Horror Podcast, where two lifelong horror fans talk all things horror. Pour yourself your favorite drink and hang out. Here are your hosts, Josh and Jake.
Hey guys, welcome to the J Squared Horror Podcast. I'm Josh.
And I'm Jake.
And on today's episode, we're going to be doing something kind of different for someone that might be new to our podcast. Jake, what are we going to be doing today, bud?
We are walking down memory lane, and we are going to name the most influential horror movies from the 1960s up to the 2010s.
Yes. So I'm excited about doing this. We haven't done a themed episode, and I don't even know how long off the top of my head. I meant to look it up before we did this, but I did not. This is exciting. It's going to be something completely different. If you're new to the channel, Jake's going to let you know some stuff right now.
As always, like and subscribe on YouTube.
Pretty, please.
You can find us also on Spotify.
We're on there.
We're on Apple.
We are.
And we're on Google.
Yes.
Also Instagram.
You can find us there.
J Squared Horror Podcast. Link tree in the bio. New episodes every Thursday.
Every Thursday, two lifelong horror fans decide to get together and talk all things horror. This is a very good example of that. This isn't a movie. This is a theme, and we are very excited to get into this. With the mention of the link tree in our Instagram, you can also check out www.jsquaredhorrorpodcast.com. You can find all of our links and all of our things if you're not on social media. So if you just look up www.jsquaredhorrorpodcast.com, you can also easily talk to us on there if you have an episode idea, if you want to be on the episode, or if you just want to say, hey, you guys are doing a great job, or hey, you guys suck, I don't know why you do a podcast every week. That would be great. We would love to hear from all of you. There's also some other things you can find on there. Once again, www.jsquaredhorrorpodcast.com. So let's get into this episode because I feel like this is going to be a fun one. I'm very excited. All right. So we're starting at the 60s.
That is correct.
1960. Off the top of your head, what's your favorite movie from the 1960s?
1960s favorite movie, I would say, is probably, I want to say Rear Window.
Okay. That's from,
I'm pretty sure it's the 60s.
Sure, why not?
Alfred Hitchcock, Jimmy Stewart,
Yeah. I like that. I've actually never seen it.
What's yours?
I don't know. I wasn't alive in the 60s, dude.
I wasn't either.
Yeah, so I have no clue. I also didn't watch a lot of the older horror movies.
Okay.
So I won't be very relevant until probably 80s, 90s.
That's fine.
But all right. So, we have basically all we're doing with this episode, we're looking at a list of top movies on Google. We just Googled all of the horror films released in 1960. So we're kind of just looking at that list, and we're going to talk about what we think are the most influential. So, all right, Jake, I'm going to ask you first because I'm the host, you're the co-host. I think that's the best way to do it. Okay. In your opinion, what do you think is the most influential horror film from the 1960s?
Based on this list, I would say Night of the Living Dead.
Why would you say that?
Well, I'm not the biggest fan of zombies.
You're not.
Obviously. But from that movie and the way zombies are seen today, kind of goes off of that premise, that movie. And also in that particular movie, even though he said he didn't mean to do it purposely, the whole racial premise of it towards the end, having a black lead leading into, or late 60s leading into the 70s.
Yeah, because it came out in 1968.
Yeah. So I feel like, based on those reasons, it was very influential for the time, and you can see a lot of the modern day zombie in that movie.
You're absolutely correct.
What about you?
The Night of the Living Dead.
Okay.
I didn't think I was wondering if you were going to pick Psycho or Night of the Living Dead, because in my opinion, those were the top two for me.
Okay.
Psycho, because obviously slashers.
Yeah.
But for some reason, Night of the Living Dead, because it actually creates the idea of the modern zombie. George A. Romero created what we know as zombies.
Yeah.
So you can't downplay that at all. Especially off of the success of, like, I hate it, but The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
Like, people are losing their minds about a new season coming out.
Never watched it.
It's not good.
Okay.
But still, speaking of influential, Night of the Living Dead, and I didn't even think about the race thing that happened when I was talking about in my own head about this being the most influential.
Yeah.
I simply meant zombies. But there are that many, you added a good point to that with, the black lead and what happens at the end of that movie, how George A. Romero swears that's not what he was looking for. Like, we're all like, dude, come on. Like, come on, bro. And it was like George A. Romero's best work, who is like an iconic, pretty iconic horror director, mostly known for zombies. But he did create the modern idea of zombie, which is like you get bit, you turn, bash their brains in, all that kind of stuff, which is still very much used in modern zombies across the board, even not just Walking Dead. So I think with also just like if you think about the dollar amount that zombies have made, like it's just hand over fist.
And there's so many different variations of like the zombie.
Yeah, now you got the rage, you got the all that stuff. Sorry guys, I'm just typing in on Google over here. Oh, cool. No pictures. This is going to be fun. This one doesn't have pictures, so we're just going to have to kind of... Can you see?
Yeah.
All right. Do you already know this list for the most part?
I do not.
I already know my answer, but I don't know.
I'll breeze through it real quick. Well, I guess this time, you go first.
No. I don't know any of these movies that they're listing, dude.
I'm not very familiar with the 70s.
I haven't seen any of these.
Well, you've seen some of them. You've seen, you've seen,
dude, it's not even on here.
You've seen Drink Your Blood.
I have not seen. What about Goodbye Gemini?
Is that 1970?
Oh, shit. I forgot the S like you did earlier.
Boom, there we go.
There we go. Let's just go top picks. All right, let's scroll. Alien came out in 1970?
It's even 79.
Oh, shit.
I hate movies like that. Or it's like the end of
yeah,
the
that's why Night of the Living Dead really got me.
Oh, Jaws, okay.
All right. Eraserhead, holy shit. Let's see here. This is a very unconventional episode, ladies and gentlemen. I'm so sorry. This is the best way we thought to do it, though, because I can't remember jack shit. Oh. And I don't know how to use a computer either, so let's just all work together. All right. So just as a couple of examples, we got Halloween, we got Carrie, we got The Hills Have Eyes, we got Texas Chainsaw Massacre, we got The Exorcist and Phantasm are the top ones that I'm seeing. Are any of those yours?
Phantasm is a very good movie.
Never seen it.
One of those is mine. One of those yours?
I would like to say yes. And I'm trying not to be biased, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
you want me to go first?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. I'm actually going to go with The Exorcist as the most influential movie from the 1970s.
Why is that?
Because there are a lot, and I think it was the combination of the realism of exorcisms,
okay,
the disgust factor that they went with and got away with, but also, I don't know if it's the first of its kind. It's the one you always go to think about when you go to think about the first, like, epic exorcism movie.
Yeah.
Demons and things. Obviously, demons have existed through the history of mankind.
Yeah.
But I feel like the combination of what they were able to do in that movie and then how cinema has perceived exorcists and demons and, like, the exorcism of Emily Rose, and the haunting in Connecticut and all those. The premise is very Exorcist. So I feel like the influence of the success of The Exorcist bled into many others later on down the road.
Okay.
So that's mine. What about yours?
Mine is Halloween.
Halloween, 1978. Yeah. Why is that?
Because I'm a big John Carpenter fan.
He's amazing.
One. And two, just the mass killer.
Yeah.
Doesn't talk.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's 78, so it goes right into the 80s, which is slasher heavy.
So slasher heavy.
But I feel like a lot of people, like Sean S. Cunningham admitted, making Friday the 13th, you mentioned before, using the premise,
very much,
the success of Halloween, to make a whole nother franchise.
Yeah, no, you're right.
So I feel like, using just that premise of the silent killer, you kind of get a reason why he's killing.
Yeah.
Uses one iconic weapon.
Yeah, one iconic weapon, one iconic mask, one iconic area.
Yeah.
Like location.
Yeah.
Location's a big part of it. Damn, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, I feel
if you think about from Halloween to Friday to Nightmare, like the biggest, the Mount Rushmore of horror villains.
Yeah.
Very similar premises.
Yeah.
Like if you break it down to the core. Obviously, more get brutal, more get crazy, more get this, but yeah.
So I originally was going to say Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
I don't think so. I was flirting with it.
But one of the things where I feel like Halloween took kind of like a similar idea in a certain aspect, but did it so much better, it helped spawn the slasher craze of the 80s.
Yeah, I think if Halloween didn't exist and it was just Texas Chainsaw Massacre, it wouldn't have been as successful.
I feel like
the slasher genre.
Yeah, I feel like you probably wouldn't have waited until Jason to get that next mass slasher type character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, those are all very good points, and I hate that you picked mine because, like, screw you. But
I honestly thought you were going to.
I was. But The Exorcist stuck out.
Okay.
Yeah, The Exorcist did stick out because, I was thinking about, there's this movie that came out called, like, Last Watch or some shit. That movie was crazy. Like, this cop was, like, going crazy or something. I don't know. But then I was like, as far as, like, I know obviously slashers have very similar vibe. And as you started talking, I was like, damn, I might have chosen the wrong one. But it's cool because I'm still sticking by it. But, like, the idea of exorcisms and like just the way it's like a group of people versus like one kid, entity, demon, or person, and the way it like contorts and reacts and does all this stuff, it seems like it started in The Exorcist as far as like what we see and what we know.
Yeah.
So for that, and it also terrified me the most, so I also played that into my influence, is like which movie had the biggest effect in the 70s?
Yeah.
Which I'd say Exorcist did as far as people, but then the continuation of that throughout other movies is why I ultimately gave The Exorcist the upper hand, even though Halloween is, as we all know, as fans of the podcast, is my favorite.
Yeah.
One of my favorite horror movies of all time. All right. I don't know if I need this list, but the 80s are just, this might be the hardest. Which one did you say was going to be the hardest for you? 70s?
Yeah.
And you just chose mine, you bastard. Damn, they even have on Google it says horror movies set in New York. Like, you fucks. All right. Iconic. Remember, iconic, not our favorites, Jake.
Yeah, I already know mine.
Are you going to really choose yours?
Yeah. And I have the same, pretty much similar reasoning why I chose Halloween, but
maybe this episode won't be as fun as I thought.
Took an idea and did it better. But yeah.
It did not take an idea and make it better. Halloween's made hand over fist compared to Friday the 13th. And also, we make new movies. You don't. All right. What's your favorite movie? What's your most, not favorite.
Not yet.
What is the most influential movie of the 1980s for you?
So, here's the thing. So, for me,
the fact
it gets a little difficult when it comes to the 80s. Because the 80s starts a certain way. Then it hits a certain point, like the mid-80s, where it starts to transition into a different type of horror. But, nevertheless, I'm going to choose Friday the 13th.
I feel like you're just a fuckboy of the of like the mainstream.
No.
You know, then why? Why Friday the 13th?
Okay, because just like Halloween, and being like the slasher, and some people's eyes start up for that, I feel like Friday the 13th as a franchise controlled the 80s. It had the most sequels during the 80s. 1. 2, it took that premise of the slasher character and took it to a different level than Michael Myers. You have a bunch of 80s camp-based horror movies like Friday the 13th. You get a bunch of knockoff 80s singular mass killer horror movies similar to Friday the 13th, which is, so I feel like that's the reason why it's so influential to me. So the movie, the first one, having taking things, putting it on their head as far as having a middle-aged woman being the killer, one.
Yeah.
And two, as the franchise went on, getting Jason, so mass killers again, the camp thing, I feel like it influenced the 80s quite a bit. Even now, jumping ahead to the 90s real quick, when there's like a female killer or middle woman killer character, she's referenced as like a Mrs. Voorhees type character.
Yeah.
So that's my reasoning.
Yeah.
What about you?
I was talking a lot of shit, but it's Friday the 13th.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. My main reason is because of how many camp slashers have come out since Friday the 13th. They didn't exist. At least I don't think they did. And anybody that's a bigger horror nerd than we are can maybe correct me on this, but until somebody does, it started the camp slasher. And obviously with movies that we've even covered on the podcast, it's fun. Like, I don't necessarily think that Friday the 13th is the best. I do not. The original Friday the 13th is not one of my favorite movies. But as far as influence on pop culture and on movies from that point forward, even not necessarily in the 80s, but obviously once Jason Voorhees came along and all of that started happening, because that was all within the 80s, because there were so many sequels, like you had mentioned already, in the 80s. A lot of the ones I've mentioned didn't have sequels or redos or like reimaginings until much, 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 much later, which means it was very successful as well, which is influence on the population and the people going to see the movies at that time. So, in my opinion, it is one of the most influential movies of all time, just because of how many camp slashers have come out since. And there's probably ones that existed, but obviously it's one of the better ones, one of the better franchises as far as sticking to, kind of a similar identity minus a couple. And, like you said, it really bodes to the fact of Halloween being influential because of the reasons that you mentioned. Camp Crystal Lake, like one area, and mass killer. Obviously, it's Mrs. Voorhees in the first one, which it kind of taints your franchise slightly. But like you said, then you have to account for the fact that you said that female killers later on down the road are mentioned as Pamela or as Miss Voorhees, and it works. You're right. So it did have a lot of influence across the board.
Yeah, I feel like Halloween started
ignited it.
Something like the tropes.
Yeah.
But Friday the 13th to me solidified it.
Yeah, well, I mean, you like you said, it was a fucking ripoff. So you're gonna do things very similarly, but slightly better because you're ripping something off.
Better, but yeah, I got it.
I mean, to an extent. But anyway, I digress. I didn't pick Halloween as my most influential from the 70s. You did. So right now you have Halloween and Friday the 13th in your list because you're fucking cool. Jerk.
Moving on to the 90s.
I don't have to Google. I don't have to look this up. I might. Should I?
Yeah, because
I know what I'm picking.
Something else may come into mind.
No, the 90s are one of the worst eras of horror. And you guys can quote me on that. Joshua Goodman. Oh, shit. Uh-oh. Oh, man. I got mine. We might not have the same one. All right. You want me to scroll some, or are you good? Oh, that's a good one.
I'm good.
All right. My turn to go first?
Did you go right with?
You went first last time.
No, I started. Didn't I?
I just say you started last time.
60s. So, yeah, okay, you're right. Correct.
You wanted me to go second because you're trying to steal mine.
No, I already know mine. Good.
All right. So for the 1990s, I'm going to say the most influential horror film is Scream. Yep.
Why?
Because if you just look at the 90s, most of the successful horror films that came out that year were basically the exact same cinematography, premise, and ideas that Scream had. Also, Scream is one of the most pop culturally identified movies. And to this day, uses pop culture so much in its movies, it is going to fit in with whatever generations are watching that movie, because it has had so many sequels perfectly timed in time to where they're always going to be relevant, but also things around it are going to be like it very much, especially in the 90s. Also, they use things like, a mask that had never been seen before. Kind of goes off of his whole Halloween thing, but something that people were buying in bulk and causing a mass hysteria within the movies. And then also who they chose to be in the movies became bigger stars. It just all worked out. And those people all kind of carried on that Scream embodiment with their careers. You always known as somebody that was in the original Scream, which means it was very iconic, in my opinion.
Okay.
What's yours?
So originally, I was going to say Scream as well.
Of course you were, until you saw that one on the left.
Because obviously Scream, the 80s, drove the shit out of slashers. The 90s, not the best slasher or horror movies in general, honestly.
Really, yeah, horror movies across the board, but
Scream with Wes Craven hits the reset button, making fun of all the tropes and even movies that he himself made in the 80s.
Yeah.
That they're tired out now. It's time to
it's time to revamp them. So what's your favorite then?
The Silence of the Lambs.
That's a terrible choice.
Now, the reason why I choose that
terrible choice.
How's that a terrible choice?
Because it just like, is it a great movie? Yeah. Is it influential? Fuck no.
It's influential to the point of the psychological aspect of horror movies. So now, like I said earlier in the episode, certain decades, 90s included, it's a certain point to where it's a certain point where it's going down a road and then it transitions. So after like 96, everything is like Scream.
Everything. Yeah.
Everything is. So the early part of the 90s, you got Silence of the Lambs, you got Misery.
Womp. Go and give me my third womp. Come on.
Misery is a good movie.
I hate you. We know, anybody that knows this podcast knows I'm not a big fan of that movie.
I didn't know that.
It's not barely horror. Barely.
How is it barely horror?
Barely. We're not talking about Misery right now. We're talking about Silence of the Lambs.
I was talking about Misery right now.
But I said, what's your most influential? And now we're talking about Misery. What?
Because it goes along with what I was talking about.
With Silence of the Lambs?
Yeah, I think Misery came out first, but just the...
Yeah. So it can't be that influential if you're saying another movie makes you think that came out before it.
But that's just me just knowing it came out before.
I'm just saying.
That's just...
It can't be that influential if you're thinking about a movie that came out before it as like a similar vibe.
That's because I know off the top of my head it came out before it.
I'm just saying.
What year Silence of the Lambs come out?
I don't know.
That's my point. So
when did Silence of the Lambs?
If someone who doesn't know just thinks of the movie, what was it?
1991. It's at the very beginning of...
Yeah. Okay, well, Misery then.
I don't know. Is Misery even on this list?
Yeah, I saw it.
It's right there.
Was it 90?
90.
Okay.
Yeah. But, all right, so once again, why is psychological?
Yeah.
That's it?
Yeah.
That's a terrible reason.
My opinion.
I mean, we're all entitled to them.
Yeah, and I feel like even though Scream is a great franchise.
Get the fuck out of here, bro. The Blair Witch Project came out in 1999.
Okay.
That was a very influential movie.
For who?
A lot of people. Not the fucking whatever you're upset about right now about the Blair Witch.
I'm not upset about it.
Clearly you are.
I'm not.
You're like, what? What about the Blair Witch?
Yeah, I'm just not a fan of that found footage bullshit. But
I know, but still, fucking iconic.
There are people.
Come on, dude.
This is an iconic movie.
It's a movie.
So what's the Blair Witch Project?
Yeah, but a lot more has been like that past or fucking after that, then fucking Silence of the Lambs is a great, like, if we're going great movies from the 90s and horror, I'm saying influential. What did it do to pop culture?
Off of this list.
What did it do for movies that came out after it, not before it? What did it do?
First of all, it was a fucking year apart.
Right? I don't care.
It's not like it came out in 1997.
But
like
still,
the Blair Witch Project,
99, bro. I was thinking the Blair Witch was the 2000s, and I'm kind of upset now.
Blair Witch Project shouldn't be on this list as far as
what the
fuck? Hold on.
What?
As far as our conversation is concerned,
get the fuck out of here. As far as influential
for the 90s,
the Blair Witch Project,
it influenced nothing.
It influenced. I'm not saying
it influenced Paranormal Activity, and that's it. What else?
What else? Dude, one of our favorite underground, like, low fucking movies, Hell House LLC, VHS.
Yeah, I don't think that's
all those movies are great. It's fucking found footage. You have to think about the root. And also you got to think about the effect that the movie had when it came out. The Blair Witch fucked people up. It kind of goes back to my Exorcist thingy. That's the reason I chose The Exorcist in that era. Is because like, the people that were watching it did not leave that movie the same way they came in. It had like a mass hysteria around it, and the Blair Witch is one of those. I'm so fucking irritated that the Blair Witch came out in 1999 and not 2000 right now, because of the one thing you said is that it can't be influential in the 1990s because it came out in 1999. I agree with that.
Yeah,
but it is an influential movie nonetheless. It should be in its own little category of they fucked up the release date, and it should have been 2000s, because the Blair Witch Project terrified people.
I don't think that every found footage movie.
But if you say that Halloween is credited to every single slasher that came out with it.
That's not what I said.
Most people do, though.
I didn't say every single slasher.
But most people do.
Yeah, well, I'm not speaking for most
We
people.
knew we were going to argue in the 90s, but this is not going to... Hey, guys, this episode, if you want to leave now, go ahead. Because it's not going anywhere from here. The fact that, what the fuck? Like, Silence of the Lambs, it's not influential, dude.
Okay.
I mean, go.
No.
Make me believe.
I give it my examples.
Make me believe a little bit more. I don't have enough.
I'm done.
Misery.
I'm done.
And Psychological.
This is my idea. So, like, you ever seen...
There we go. Come on.
The Thinner? It's called The Thinner? A Thinner?
No. What year did that come out?
Pretty sure late 90s. I'm just saying a lot of shit that's not just slasher bullshit from the 90s. Just a bunch of Scream remakes.
I'll give you
that. Aren't even Scream remakes. Just like, what's this shit?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Fucking ripoff.
Yeah.
Cinematography, actors, what they were doing. I get it.
Pretty much the
but
same
that's
thing.
why Scream is
urban legend.
Yeah, very much so.
They're all following the same Scream process.
That's why I think Scream is so influential.
I would rather something be okay. Traditionally being like influencing someone and taking the exact same shit over and over and over again. So with mention the 80s,
yeah,
and slasher, they're all like different types of slashers.
Yeah,
Scream made a formula that they followed like to a T, having young actors or young popular 90s actors.
Yeah, you're feeding my argument though.
What's your argument?
Like, take out the Blair Witch thing, because that's cool. Like, I understand you're upset with me even bringing it up.
Yeah.
Because you're a little sensitive when it comes to the Blair Witch. But
as far as pissed off about the Blair Witch shit. Like,
I get it.
That's what's irritating me.
I love it because it's way more influential than.
And then you got me jumping on Scream, and I agree that Scream's influential. So
Scream, but you're literally fueling my fire on the Scream being the most influential movie, maybe of all time.
It's not of all time.
No, but think about what you were just saying. Think about what you were just saying. It came up with a formula that was legitimately copied. Like, after that year in other movies. Okay. So they thought in their heads, all these other directors, other than Wes Craven, were like, this is it. This is the fucking formula. It's like somebody trying to steal the Big Mac formula. Or if you're a SpongeBob fan, the Krabby Patty formula.
Okay.
That's influential. I'm not saying what our favorites are. We have to remove ourselves from this in a capacity because you just proved that Scream may be the most influential movie of all time. And I don't like saying that. But if you're going off of a formula that was legitimately ripped off the same decade so many times, that's influence, in my opinion.
Okay.
That's the definition of influence, in my opinion.
I was not prepared for the 90s argument. But
I was not either.
When I said Silence of the Lambs, I had more movies in mind that were like early 90s psychological thriller horror movies.
Yeah.
That I right now cannot think of.
You did say Misery, which did technically come out before, but I'll let it slide. I will let it slide. But even if we're looking at this list right here, right? Flatliners, nope. Frankenhooker, great movie.
That's like Snake Dick.
Well, y'all know nothing about that Snake Dick. H2O came out.
Trash.
Pretty cool. Trash, very trash. All right, so Devil's Advocate, cool. That's very fucking...
good movie, though.
Is it?
Yeah, I like it.
Night of the Living Dead came out.
Oh, yeah. You covered that. Trash.
I'm just saying, I think for a second there, you got a little lost on influential versus your personal feelings, which is understandable.
Yeah, okay, all right.
Like, I'm not saying that, but, like, are you sticking with Silence? Are you coming over to the Scream party, bro?
I'm coming to the Scream party.
I'm just saying, the only thing that fucks up your argument, which sucks, is because you're, like, so adamant.
I am.
On, like, the hatred of, like, copy and pasting cinema. I get it. Like, it fucking irritates all of us as fans.
I'm okay with it if you can take the idea and improve upon it.
Like Halloween.
Exactly.
With Friday the 13th. Okay.
Don't make it lesser quality movie for another 5 years.
But that proves Scream's influence, though.
Okay.
It's because these people were willing to put their names on absolute piles of dog shit because it was kind of like Scream. That's what blows my mind about Scream. And it may be the most influential franchise. And what they do, that fucking formula that you're talking about, works per generation or era it comes out in. Think about when we saw the newest Scream. Who was around us? We talked about it in the Scream 6 episode. Yeah. There's a person 10 years older than us, us, and someone 10 years younger than us in our fucking row.
That's true.
That's influence on generations. Now, this one might have been Jenna Ortega, but that's still influence because they pick people. I don't know how Scream seems to pick people that are going to be relevant elsewhere. Don't ask me how they do that, but they do it.
That's true.
Matthew Lillard, unknown before Scream. Anytime you see him, you're like, that's right, he's in Scream.
Or Scooby-Doo.
Scooby-Doo, obviously, big. 13 Ghosts, we've covered, big. Influence, bud.
All right.
In-fucking-fluence.
All right.
The 90s, we knew it was going to happen. I'm just happy you didn't say It. I thought that's where you were going. I almost said it. 2010s? Is that where we're going now?
2000s.
No, we're going to... we just did... Oh, fuck. That was the 90s.
That was the 90s.
Oh, God. Is this the worst era of horror? All right, we got Orpheus. Oh, that's a good one as far as influence. It counts as horror, right? Number 2?
No.
Oh, come on. Really? You don't think so?
No.
Okay. I'll let it slide, you little bitch boy.
I already know what mine is.
What's yours? Oh, you got to go first anyway.
No. See, not for the pressure on me. Because last time I knew what mine was, it was all fucked up.
Oh, there's some really good ones from the 2000s.
What? Well,
but influential? Ooh, that's gonna... Oh, I got mine. Okay. All right. Whew. Almost had to really think about it.
I'm not sure which one came out first. Okay? Let me clarify that now.
Let's go ahead and get that out because that's the only ammo Josh has had this episode.
Either The Ring or The Grudge.
Really? You're going with the Asian-based American remakes?
Yeah.
Why? Please, dude, because that's where I thought I was going to go until I just saw the one in the middle of the screen.
Yeah, so at first, dude, you know what's so crazy? At first, was going to say that one.
That's what I'm going to say. But I want to know because dude, that's crazy. Because I was going to say what you just said. Like the whole, like when we came up with this episode a couple of days ago, I was like, fucking
that was
2000s.
guaranteed my choice.
Mine was yours.
Really?
I was like, dude, the fucking Asian to American, like that terrifying. So go. I can't talk anymore. I need to hear why you thought this. Because that's crazy. We just flipped, but didn't even mean to.
So you get those movies. So like late 90s, they come out originally.
Yeah.
2000s, because you get stories, you get the Ring or The Grudge, came out first. But then
we gotta find this out just so we can know for the both of us. All right, The Ring was 2002.
Okay.
Where's The Grudge? I'm just gonna look up The Grudge itself. Go ahead. I'm just gonna look this up for you.
I feel like that whole dark view of movies.
2020.
That's the remake. What's the original one?
2004.
Okay.
So it was The Ring and then Grudge. Yeah, that makes sense.
So you get two sequels from The Grudge.
Yeah.
In the 2000s. You get a few from The Ring. For me, the movie One Missed Call gave me that same kind of vibe.
Which one was that one?
Check with the phone call. She missed, a phone rings, you missed a call. When you pick it up, it tells you hear how you die or something like that.
Oh, fuck. Yeah, that is such a 2000s movie.
Very trash movie, but they all can have like that same kind of premise.
Yeah.
I feel like.
Yeah.
And then after a while, they all kind of look the same.
Yeah.
They're all kind of dark.
Yeah.
Just like a long-haired character.
Like Asian.
Yeah.
That sounds bad.
In some cases, Asian.
In some cases, Asian.
They weren't all
what
Asian.
Descent, or like which country of origin these demon monster ghosts come from. But
I feel like a lot of water-based horror movies as well.
Yeah, it was very wet.
Yeah.
It was a very wet era of horror.
I can't remember what movie it's called, but it was like a spot on the ceiling.
Uh-huh.
What's it called? The Darkness? The Dark Spot.
No, dude, there was one about a tooth fairy called The Darkness or some shit.
Mm.
Do you remember that one was like Dark Falls or some shit?
That sounds familiar.
Yeah, that shit was wild. All right, but remember, The Grudge.
Yeah, but go ahead.
You went Grudge because it came out first?
The Ring came out first.
Oh, sorry, The Ring. So The Ring was your answer?
Yeah.
Okay.
To me, it's
basically the same.
Same thing.
So do you think, and once again, this is just because I am on like Dr. Phil style questioning right now.
But this is before you hit, like I mentioned before, so check when yours came out.
Yes, I will. You're right.
Because I feel
like when's the turning point for the 2000s? Yeah.
It,
I know exactly what you're thinking.
It hits that certain point, and this is what is a term I use? Pretty okay. So yeah, right in the midway point.
Yep.
And then from then on, it's just like that.
Basically that.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. The only question I had, my Dr. Philness, or like my amazing interview skills I'm having tonight. I don't know what's flowing through me, but I'm finally winning these arguments, and it feels so fucking good.
Okay.
Don't hate me.
Okay.
But it's your most influential of the 2000s is a remake of something that came out before the 2000s. So, do you think, I'm just asking you, I'm not trying to be a dick.
You're not trying to be a dick.
I'm not trying to just shit all over you this episode. Do you think that what you were actually saying was whenever the originals came out, or do you honestly feel like the American remakes on our side, like in our, what we're used, because honestly, we only know our cinema because we're here for it. Do you think pop culturally and through our generation of people that were watching these movies that they're still influential because of what they looked like coming out after that? Or do you think it was the originals that came out in Asia or like Japan, like Japanese horror? I'm not trying to be a dick, but our fans are asking me. Like they're coming out through me. I'm killing it this episode.
So I do feel like people did watch the Americanized version. They maybe probably went back and watched the other ones. And from that popularity, because now, if you're on like Netflix and shit, it's everywhere now. Yeah. And it's more mainstream to American fans, I feel like. these Asian-based horror movies.
That was the perfect answer.
Yeah.
Like, you're right. The American remakes made the Asian ones more popular.
If people go back and
by
watch
their influence. And it's crazy to think that it's based off of something else.
I should have fucking chose this movie.
I'm so happy I didn't choose the ones I was
getting
thinking.
worked.
I'm fucking Rocky Balboa in the
decade
90s,
after decade.
Yeah. But do you see what I'm saying though?
Yeah, I do.
But the thing is you're still right, because unfortunately, and I don't think this is like any type of like being negative towards any group of people or not, but they don't have the push. Like, American cinema makes it into other countries for a reason.
Yeah.
It's that well pushed, it's that well budgeted, it's that well done.
Yeah.
We all know this. And I'm not saying that there aren't some, like Parasite that came out that was a completely Korean movie.
Yeah.
Didn't even come out in English my way. Is one of my all-time favorite like psychological crazy movies. Okay. I will give them credit where it's due.
Yeah.
But if you let us remake some shit, guess what, guys? We're going to do it somewhat better, and we're going to make what you came out with more popular because we redid it.
Yeah.
And I think that that's why, in a sense, it is very influential still, because it's able to do something that you're not only creating something that's going to go post-2000s, but you're bringing in something that we didn't know existed. So that's some fucking influence.
That is true.
This was my episode, I guess. I'm like in fucking sync right now. So I'm going to go with Saw. I'm going to go with the safest fucking answer possible. Came out 2004, mid-mark of the 2000s. Nothing was like it prior. Nothing's really been like it post. I'm just kidding. There's been so much like it post because it was so influential. They have a shit ton of follow-up movies.
Yeah.
Up until today, and we're talking about a new Saw now, which of course it's like, hey Josh, wait a second, Halloween just had Halloween. Yeah, but these consistently came out year after year after year after year after year after they came out. Yeah. It took Halloween damn near sometimes 10, 15, 20 fucking years. Sometimes 40 to come out with some sequels, all right? So in my opinion, Saw also the effect it had on people watching it. There wasn't much like that before that.
I would agree.
Where it's just like you are against an evil, maniacal person. It's not the boogeyman. It's not Jason fucking Voorhees. He's not attacking you in your sleep. He's got you cuffed to a fucking pole in a bathroom, and he's like, saw some shit off or die, bro. Like, what? Like, the fact that, Scary Movie, Shaq, Dr. Phil, like, it had such an influence.
It did, yeah.
On, once again, pop culture, movies after it, probably some movies before, because there's probably some demented shit that existed before Saw, but not like Saw.
When did Hostel come out?
Hostel is Eli Roth, so I'm guessing 2005, but let me double check. Dude, I am like,
you were killing it today.
Like, synced in. Hostel 2005.
I feel like that whole,
but that was that torture porn shit.
Yeah.
That's where it took. So Saul did it right. Hostel did it wrong.
And then
because you couldn't watch Hostel.
Yeah.
Like in our age.
Yeah.
Unless you had a friend's house that didn't have parents over at that time. It was when I watched Hostel, I was in middle school, and we had like one of those times where like the parents were going out, and like all the neighborhood got together, and we were like, "Bro, you got Hostel, right?" He's like, "Yeah, we got it." My sister rented it for us from Blockbuster. Yeah. We're like, "Yo, throw that shit in," and we had pizza, and it was just like, no. I was like, "Whoa, what is this?" It's just like, this is legitimate pornography. Like, how is this movie? And it's crazy to me. But once again, the influence. Saw influenced Hostel heavily.
Okay. So now,
horror 2010s?
We get down to the 2010s.
Sorry, guys. We knew this was going to be a long episode, but thank you guys if you're sticking around for this, because this is a lot of fun. All right. Horror 2010s. Oh, shit. I don't know if I'm going to be able to answer this. Oh, fuck. Is this possible?
So the 2010s is a different
because it's going into the oh fuck no, it's not, because the 2020s are only 3 years.
Yeah. So it's also one of those decades to where it starts at a certain point and it takes a turn. So
I don't even know if it took a turn.
I'll go first.
Yeah, please do, because I got nothing.
So to me, when I think 2010s, I think Insidious.
Ooh, yes.
Like Insidious.
Yeah, those movies.
Well, I don't want to say like, okay, something being, I guess you getting possessed or demons or a ghost hanging around a house.
Hey, do you remember when I told you guys that The Exorcist was one of the most influential movies? Listen to what this guy said.
Yeah, that's fine. We're talking 40 years later.
Insidious is 2010.
Okay.
So you are on it.
So I'm thinking like Insidious.
Yeah, you're on
Sinister.
Yeah.
Conjuring.
Yeah.
Or Conjuring franchise.
Conjuring franchise.
Or in other words, the decade of Patrick Wilson.
You're absolutely correct. It's almost impossible because I think as cinema and movies grow farther, it's really hard because, like you said, Insidious and then Patrick Wilson, like we're now talking about what's the fucking word I'm looking for? Like these movies are now starting to like intertwine with each other.
Yeah.
So like Annabelle.
Especially having like same main character.
You know, Annabelle's tied into this, and this. And then you got the guy from Insidious that's to the fucking guy from The Conjuring, and I can't tell the difference.
Yeah.
And up until now, we have a new Insidious coming out, so it's hard for me to debunk. Like, I mean, if this came out in 2010, how is this not the most influential movie from the 2010s?
Woo! I got a year right, guys.
Not yet.
Starting the decade off.
Not yet. I'm just saying.
I don't know you're the one that's going to top that.
But, I mean, you know, you can kind of do a lot of things here. All right. That's pretty influential right there, bud. It came out in 2017.
Yeah, it influenced the 2020s quite a bit.
It did, which is still important. Wait, when did? Hold on. I think it's the 90s. Son of a bitch. Hold on. What am I thinking about? What's his name? There we go. No, fuck no, not those ones. Come on. All right. Should I?
If that's what you think.
That's a tough one. That's a tough one to argue. Like, to argue for. Because I think that's more personal than it is.
It can't be any harder than The Silence of the Lambs.
That was a rough one. That was a rough one. But I'm also trying not to get put into your boxing match you just went through.
I mean, you can take just one round of it.
Nah, you know, I don't really believe it. I think that's more personal than it is actual. So let me just look one more time, guys. I'm so sorry. 2010's horror.
You see, just how I was looking for a different answer than Scream.
Yeah.
I feel like Insidious is the answer for this decade.
I think you might be right because now I'm looking at Conjuring. Conjuring came out in 2013. That's 3 years after Insidious. Very similar vibes. When did Cabin in the Woods come out? 2011. That's a year after, but it's not that influential. It's a Babadook. No. I'm gonna heed to yours. I'm not being a bitch. I really just can't find a better, more influential thing that came out in 2010 that influenced more after 2010 than the amount of that paranormal style of horror that came out after Insidious. Not saying the franchise did a very good job, but we're not.
I feel like the first two were good.
Yeah, I'm saying but the franchise, we're now at 5. So if the first 2 only did good, you're less than 50%.
I feel like they're also following that whole
make it push the envelope.
No, that whole new formula of bringing back original characters, and making a direct sequel to the first or second movie.
Yeah, it's not a good idea
because it's been so successful for Scream, and
don't you dare
Halloween.
Don't you dare say my franchise. I just got an argument earlier today about that.
But Halloween franchise?
Yeah, somebody was like, I kind of like the one with Corey. I could have fucking reached through my phone and punched him. But yeah, I concede to your Insidious because it came out in 2010, and it seems like post that a lot of movies were just like that. So you're right. You got one decade, bud. Of all decades for you to win, it was the 2010s. Oof.
Which I was, I like one of the 80s too, though.
We agreed on the 80s, so you couldn't have won on the 80s.
And the 60s.
We didn't agree on the 60s.
Yeah, I won the 60s.
I won the 60s.
Who'd you say?
Oh, no, we did agree on the 60s.
So pretty much I'm setting the precedent here for the decades.
No, it's just tie, lost. And we've only tied. You've never won a round.
But I feel like if I'm saying it first.
I would have said it first.
And you're conceding.
This is the only one I conceded on.
Okay.
I hadn't really done my...
I'll take one.
One?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll take my wins.
I'll take one win.
I'll take my wins. You're like the Celtics.
No.
You're down 3-1 right now.
I feel like technically though.
If you didn't get so obliterated in the 2000s one, I think you'd be standing up.
I was going to do that. It was the 90s I got fucked up.
Was it the 90s that you got fucked up on?
Silence of the Lambs.
Oh yeah, Silence of the Lambs.
Fucked me up. Who?
You got worked, bro. You got sent through the ringer.
I didn't want to say Scream. I feel like it's something. You got this, dude. You can think of something else. No, you can't.
You can't. Not the 90s.
I was like, Silence of the Lambs. Got it. Misery. Fuck. And it was over.
Hey, if you guys want, comment or email along with us. Let us know what you guys think your favorite movies from each decade were. As you can tell, not everyone agrees on these. It's a lot of fun. We are way past our minute mark that we are usually at. So big shout out to all of our supporters. Jeff Balance, who does our design work. Lucky Riggs, who does our intro and our outro music. Trademark Printing, who does our printing needs. We got some exciting news coming up. We might possibly be joining a podcast network coming up, guys. So keep your guys' ears and eyes open for that.
Yeah.
Big shout out to Jake for taking a beating like a man this week and still hopefully going to show up next week to do another episode with me.
I mean, I feel like it's the first time in 77 episodes.
77 episodes, I finally get a dub on an episode. I'll take it. Which, in hindsight, it feels great. It really does because I feel like I brought my A game tonight. But, yeah, thank you to all you fans that listen in every week. We see you guys. We appreciate every single one of you. Last week's episode did very well. It was The Thing, which is crazy. We are excited to see that. It's one of his all-time favorite movies.
Yeah.
It's a very personal, so thank you guys for showing support on that one. Show some support on this one. Comment along. Email if you want. www.jsquaredhorrorpodcast.com is the easiest way to contact us. Or if you're on socials, comment along. YouTube, comment down below. If you're seeing this on the video, you get to this point, comment down below. Josh finally won one. That would be awesome. You guys have a great week, and this is the J Squared Horror Podcast.
I'm Jake.
Hey, this is the J Squared Horror Podcast. I'm Josh.
I am Jake.
Yeah, and this, remember.